Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Today I'm going to be doing my 1-month review on my GTR. That's right, I've owned this beast for about a month now and I've really been enjoying it. As you know, I use it as my daily driver. But since how I've had it for a month now, I've been able to kind of drive it around town and I'm discovering some things I like and some things I wouldn't mind changing about the car. The interesting thing about me having it for a month is it hasn't been a typical month-long ownership as a typical owner would. For those of you who saw my previous series when I bought the car, I bought it up in Washington and drove it all the way down to Los Angeles. So in the first 3 days of owning this car, I put 1,000 miles on it. If you've seen that video, you got to see what that was all about and my initial reactions and reviews. If you haven't, I'm gonna go ahead and leave a link to those videos in the description down below. It was a 3-part series, or I'll leave a banner above my head and you can check that out if you'd like. However, this video, I'm gonna be able to talk about some different things. Now that I've been using it as a daily driver, I've been driving it around town, getting groceries and the typical things with life. So there's gonna be things that I've discovered that are really great about the car for a daily driver and some things that I could probably change about it. The first thing I wanna talk about is a thing that everybody sees, and that's the exterior of the car. In my opinion, the GTR is a good looking car, but just is different than my other cars. For those of you who know me or have seen the channel before, you know that I've owned Supras, RX-7s, Miatas, S2000s, Camaros. The GTR is a very sharp and angular car, which I can assume some people don't like, compared to like my 90s cars, which were very round and sinewy. But I do enjoy the looks. The biggest downside for me is actually the color. I don't like black on cars. In my opinion, it hides too many of the interesting details of the car. It blends in some of these sharp angles and lines that you would see with another color. Fortunately, with wrap technology coming up as it is, and the fact that it's not that expensive, it's very cheap to change the color of the car. I would like to take it blue in the future, and I haven't decided if I'm just gonna do a wrap or I'm just gonna full out strip it down and actually paint it a nice blue, but we'll figure that out in the future. The other thing about the exterior I'm sure you've noticed is these red wheels. If you've seen my previous videos, you know that these are actually the stock wheels on the Black Edition GTR, but the previous owner plasti dipped them red. There is a product I can use that makes plasti dip really easy to get off. I just haven't ordered yet, haven't gotten to it yet, I've kind of had a busy life. But that will happen, so as you will over time see that the car will change and slowly become more what I like cosmetically. One of the cool things about the exterior of the car I actually didn't even know about until I bought it, and it has to do with the rear view mirrors. They actually fold up with the flip of a switch. Now I'm sure some of you are thinking that's really no big deal, but I live in LA and it's kind of a nice little feature because I have seen cars that were parallel parked and had their mirrors taken off by a car that was traveling just too close to it. So it's kind of nice to be able to fold them up and know that for sure they will be on the car when I come out. Now this car doesn't get parallel parked very often. I do have a parking space in a garage, but my garage is kind of tight. So it's also nice to be able to fold up the mirrors and it kind of makes it easier for me to get past the car when I'm heading back inside. Yes, I know that means I'm probably a little fat, but it is what it is. Next, I'm going to talk about the interior of the car. And let's be honest, I'm probably gonna have my most opinions about this aspect of the car because, well, this is where I spend the most of my time, is in the interior. And I've got to say, it's actually pretty good. I'm gonna start off with talking about the seats. I do love these seats. They're super comfy. As you know, I did sit in them for 9 hours straight on one of my drives back from Washington, and I didn't have an issue at all. I also love the fact that they've also got some more aggressive bolsters. This is the GTR edition, that is the Black Edition, and it comes with these Recaro seats. The Premium Edition comes with some other seats that I haven't sat in, so I don't have any opinions on those. But this one, apparently it's got more aggressive bolsters here on the side and on the thighs, so when you go around corners, it definitely holds you in place, which I like. Most of my previous cars I've had to swap the seats out because if I was doing autocross or track or just having fun in the canyons, I was sliding around all over the place. So I usually would pull out the stock seats and drop in some Sparcos. This car, I don't think I need to. I think I'm actually gonna leave the stock seats. Ironically enough, the only other car I've owned where I didn't feel the need to swap out the seats was my R35 Skyline GTR. I mean, those seats were also super comfy and they are nicely bolstered. In fact, they were probably even bolstered more than these, and you just didn't move. And I can't help but note that the other seats that I liked were also out of a GTR. A fun little accessory that this car has is there's actually a sunglass holder right here. It's actually the first car I've actually ever had that. I mean, I've seen other cars with it and I really haven't thought much of it, but it's kind of nice that, you know, I can just throw my shades up there and I know exactly where they are and they're within easy reach when I need them. One of the things that I kind of enjoy about this cabin all around is it kind of has a dark feeling to it. This might be partially because it's a black edition and the headliner is actually black. On the non-black editions, they're actually usually more of a light gray, which kind of brightens it up. I kind of like this whole kind of dark Batmobile kind of feel to it, especially with all the technology. And speaking of tech, that is where this car just differs dramatically from any of my previous cars, is it comes with a bunch of tech stock that I don't have to add. I mean, you can start just with the tachometer. There's a small little screen in the tachometer that you can cycle through that gives you all sorts of information. It can let you know what your MPG is. It could tell you what your miles per hour is in case you don't want to look at the speedo itself. It can give you warnings and maintenance information. I mean, it's all just right there. And if that's not enough information for you, it of course has this AV screen right here that you can custom design however you want to have whatever gauges you want shown. For me personally, I've put what I feel is the most important information up there for me to see at a glance, which is my boost pressure, my engine temp, my engine oil pressure and oil temp, as well as what is very important for this car, the transmission oil temperature and pressure. I wished that they had given me a lambda gauge or an air fuel gauge, because I would like to know, especially in the future, as I start upping the boost, I want to make sure that the car's not running rich or lean. Unfortunately, they did not give that as an option. I wish they did. I could put in a wideband O2, but I just really don't want to put any aftermarket gauges in this car. Along with all the technology is the ability to pair your phone to your car, which is pretty common nowadays. It's not that big of a deal for most people. Like I said, for me, coming from all my cars from the 90s, it's kind of nice not having to buy a stereo with that option. The car just comes with it. I have used the hands-free calling, and people have told me that they hear me really, really well, but I don't hear them very well. It seems like it's a little bit quiet for this car. I feel like they needed a little bit more volume when it comes to hearing people on the other side of the phone. I've turned the volume all the way up. I've turned my Bluetooth sound all the way up, and it's still just a little bit on the quiet side. I wish for a little bit more volume there. The other cool thing is I'm able to run either Pandora or Spotify or music that I've saved to my phone directly into the stereo via Bluetooth, so I don't have to wire it in if I don't want. Some people have said that they've had issues with it taking a long time to connect, like 5-10 minutes. I've never had that issue. For me, I turn on the car within about 45 seconds or less. The phone's connected and ready to play music. So that's really cool. That's nice. Because as you know, stereo stations nowadays seem like they're more talking than music. Of course, there are some things I don't like about the interior of the car. One of the ones is a big one for everybody, and it's the reverse beeps. Everybody who has this car knows what I'm talking about. You put the car in reverse and you get these loud, annoying beeps like you're a garbage truck. I mean, this car does not need the beeps. And the funny thing is, it doesn't even beep on the outside. It only beeps in the cabin. It's like the whole point is just to annoy. It's like you need someone to tell you you're in reverse, as if it's so hard to find reverse. So super annoying. The backup camera, although it is kind of nice to have, I find it kind of pointless. I almost never use it, because if you're using it to back up, you're gonna miss your sides, and this is a very wide car, so it'd be very easy to damage your rear fender if you're not actually turning over your shoulder to look. I'm sure if I was parallel parking more often and it was a tight spot, it'd be nice to see to make sure I'm not getting close to the car that I'm parallel parking between. But other than that, I kind of feel the reverse camera's kind of pointless. I can look out the back of the car and see just fine. Also, another cool thing with the car that is also a bit of a fail is the garage door opener. You can program your garage door opener or your gate opener to the rear view mirror right here, and that way you don't have to worry about putting one of those ugly receivers here on your visor. I have programmed it, and I just find that the distance is very, very short. I almost have to be right up on the gate for it to register I'm pushing the button and for it to open. It was kind of nice with the original unit. I could actually, just click it, and I was a good distance from the gate, so by the time I got there, it's already open. I can just go right in. So, like I said, it's kind of nice it's there, but it's also a bit of a fail. They should have gotten a little bit more range out of it. One thing about this car is it hates reverse. First of all, you get that loud beeping. Like I said, it's only in the cabin, it's not outside. But when you put the car in reverse, it doesn't want to go into gear very much. It seems to take a moment to actually want to start moving. And two, it feels like that front differential is just fighting reverse. That front differential just doesn't seem to like reverse at all, especially if like you're turning, like you're trying to back into a parking spot. It seems to want to fight you the whole way. I think people have found ways around it in turning it into safe mode. I haven't tried that yet, but it's just one of those things that as a daily driver, it's a little annoying. A funny little quirk of the car when driving it around is just how fast it gets in the 6th gear. Like, I'm already in 6th gear and I'm only doing 30 miles an hour. And that can kind of be a little annoying when all of a sudden you need the power. It does take a second to realize when you put your foot down that it needs to lower the gears. I think the reason why they did that was to increase the mile per gallon, because I'm still averaging about, 22 miles per gallon, which is really impressive. I thought I was going to be sitting around like 18. So that might be because of that. If it does really bother you that much that it's constantly in 6th gear though, you can just pretty much kick it over into manual and use the paddle shifters. Funny thing about the paddle shifters, it took me a while to get used to it because I'm used to taking my foot off the accelerator to shift because I'm used to a manual. So I would go to drive and I'd actually take my foot off the accelerator to shift with the paddles. Fortunately, I've trained myself to stop doing that and I've gotten a lot better at using the paddle shifters, but there is a learning curve there. Let's be honest, this is the real reason why you own the car. That's launch control. Man, this car accelerates. I mean, let's be honest, this is a race car. So this car is a little bit different from my other cars in that, does it have more power than my Supra or my RX-7s? Probably not, because this car is still pretty much stock. But where the difference comes in is that I can get to the powers I was running on the Supra and the RX-7s. I had to run a single turbo. This car is still on the factory twins, which means the power band is instantaneous and continuous. To see how that's different with the Supra, when I swapped over to the single turbo, when I hit the accelerator, yes, you get good acceleration kind of in the lower end, but you really didn't get the full experience of the car until you hit about 4,000 RPM and that speedo would just snap to redline. This car, the power is pretty much all there all the time and it is great. Oh, and as just a little side note, that was my first time using launch control. So not only is this car good at acceleration, but man, it can corner too. Does it corner as good as my Miatas or my RX-7s? Probably not, but man, you can definitely throw this sucker through the corners. Really, the limitation on your ability to corner in this car is how much faith you have in the compound of your tires. However, the car does kind of fail compared to some of my other cars in one aspect, and that is the sensation of speed. When I was driving my other cars, like I felt like I was going fast when I was actually going fast. This car kind of feels like I could be doing 90 and it feels like I'm doing like 30. Now, I guess that's kind of a testament to how well the car is engineered because the car can handle that type of speed. With some of the other cars, also given their age, you get the rattles and the squeaks as you get up to speed, you hear the wind noise, and you do just kind of feel like things are coming at you faster. This car feels like nothing's really coming at you fast unless you're up over 100, which, on public roads, you don't do that often. Another thing about this car that's a little bit different is it feels big and it feels heavy. We take a look at my Supras, my RX-7s, my Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX, my S2000. All those cars were very small, very nimble, and it gave them a certain feel. This car kind of feels more like my '69 Camaro, where you feel the raw power, but the car just feels big and heavy. The cool thing is about this car too, compared to some of my other cars, is around town it's a pretty darn comfortable car. Probably has something to do also with the weight and, the size of the car. But like I said, I do use my GTR as my daily, as I did all my previous cars. But this one just kind of feels more practical, if you can believe that. You can put the suspension in comfort mode and it kind of softens up some of those road bumps. Not as much as you would like a Camry, but let's be honest, I don't want a Camry. But it has a huge trunk space compared to like my Supra, where I could go grocery shopping with it, but after you start getting a certain amount of bags, you can't see out the rear window. Of course, this car also, compared to some of the other cars, has amazing visibility. Some of those other cars, particularly like the RX-7 and the Miata with the soft top up, as well as the S2000, looking over your driver's shoulder, sometimes you can't see and you're really dependent on those mirrors. This car, I feel like I can see just about everywhere, so I feel safe changing lanes and so on and so forth in traffic. So, like I said, as an all-around town car, it's actually kind of impressive. The funny thing about this car, I actually expected to get a lot more attention in it than I actually have. I'm used to my Supra, where now, thanks to that stupid video, I'm getting the "is that a Supra?" every day. Or when I had the R35 GT-R and people would lose their mind seeing it. This car kind of flies under the radar, and I'm wondering if it's kind of because the color, it is black, it does kind of blend in. People might not look at it twice. However, when people see it and they know what it is, then it definitely gets the attention. I've had people wanting to take pictures with it, people have wanted to sit in it. So it does get the attention, but only from those people who truly know what it is. So I'm getting real car people who are actually interested in the car. And there it is. That's my 1 month review on my GTR. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit that like button. It does help the channel out. If you want to see more GTR content in the future, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or you feel there's anything I missed, go ahead and post in the comments down below. I will respond to you. You can now follow me on all forms of social media, which include Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and I'll leave links to those in the description down below. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all out on the road.